Welcome everyone to our quarterly learning webinar focusing on Primarius or PWW refresher course. And we'll kind of use Primarius and PWW interchangeably. For now, I've turned off everyone's cameras for the meeting during the presentation, but please feel free to utilize the chat function if you have questions throughout, because we'll definitely have time to get to those at the end, and then we can turn the cameras back on too. Just wanted to make sure our internet didn't lag here. And then my name is Kelly Boycourt, and I'm the Partner Services Manager here at the SLO Food Bank, and I'll be presenting alongside Natalie, our Community Programs Coordinator, and Christy at the end talking about food rescue real quick in regards to PWW. And so without further ado, we will get started. And so our agenda for today's webinar, we're going to go over a brief Primarius history in regards to the SLO Food Bank and when we adopted that program. And then we are going to focus a lot on the specifics of placing a food order and kind of some troubleshooting and process updates that we've seen during that process over the past year or so. We're going to go over products on Primarius and product categories and how that kind of relates to the SLO Food Bank's food sourcing and day-to-day activities in the warehouse with our staff and volunteers and building orders. We're going to go over some monthly statistics refreshers for our agency partners. Thank you all for diligently submitting those every month. They're really helpful to the SLO Food Bank to measure our community impact and help see where the need in our community is being addressed and where we might need to grow our programs to better support. And then we'll have kind of interspersed, but also a little slide at the end about support and troubleshooting in regards to Primarius. And then, of course, lots of times for question and answers. And Natalie and I are both available. We should keep it within an hour, but if we do go over and someone else wants to stay for more specific questions, we will be available on here as well. All righty. So a brief history of PWW. So the SLO Food Bank adopted this online inventory and agency partner ordering system back in early 2021. Prior to that, prior to 2021, the SLO Food Bank did not have an online ordering system that was tied to our inventory. Agency partners submitted orders through online forms such as Microsoft or Google Forms, or they faxed them to the SLO Food Bank, which gives me so much anxiety I can't even begin to fathom. And we used to send out weekly available food lists to agency partners through email and on paper, and then they would submit their orders back through those various forms. And then we also, at that same time, had a lot of in-warehouse shopping, meaning when agency partners actually came to pick up food, they were also shopping a lot in the warehouse and going through a lot of bins of donated and mixed product food and self-selecting. And so from January to June of 2021, our team worked to adopt Primarius as an in-house inventory management software. So Primarius on the back end for SLO Food Bank staff and our operations actually tracks all of our inventory across all of our programs. And then for agency partners, it has the external online food ordering that agency partners can access weekly to directly get food from the SLO Food Bank for their programs. We onboarded all our agency partners to Primarius by June of 2021. And another change that happened partly because of Primarius changing of the times and also COVID was a big factor in this. We started offering a lot more consistent cased bulk product to agency partners and kind of moved away from the in-warehouse shopping. And then also offering more purchased product for agency partners. So food that the SLO Food Bank specifically sourced to offer for agency partners rather than relying on a lot of in-kind food donations to supply that. And we've been using this program ever since and have gotten to know it a lot better. And we've had a couple larger process updates for our agency partners, particularly within the last year. We're operating at a pretty high capacity for our agency partner program, having over 70 active agency partners responding to an increased need in our community. So in January, one big update we did of last year was an invoice and order email update. Primarius used to send out an what should be an order confirmation but looked like a finalized invoice, and we turned that off and had to communicate to agency partners um, what that update meant. And then in October, we did a pretty big ordering windows update to agency partners. So we'll definitely talk a lot about ordering windows as we move forward. And so with that, we'll move on to some specifics of ordering food on PWW, which all of our agency partners have access to order food up to once a week, but they are not obligated to order once a week. You can order once a month or every other week, whatever fits your program needs, but no more than once a week. And with that, here we get to a hopefully familiar graphic to our agency partners. We have specific assigned pickup or delivery days for each agency partner, and we're open Monday through Friday for those. And so we adopted these newer ordering windows where we want agencies to place their order about 2 business days before their pickup or delivery date in October of 2023. Before this, we used to have a 2-day ordering window, and some of those days overlapped the weekend when the SLO Food Bank staff are not available to help support or answer any questions. And so to kind of streamline it and make it more specific, we're trying to encourage all our agency partners to order 2 days before their pickup or delivery date. Our team builds the order the day before pickup or delivery, and then agency partners pick it up ready to go on the day of. And we want agencies to order close to that pickup or delivery date, mostly to guarantee we have the most up-to-date inventory displayed, especially in regards to our fresh produce, which makes up a lot of our inventory. And we'll definitely talk more about that in the future. And something we're really trying to reiterate to our agency partners is our warehouse team always needs 1 full business day between placing an order and pickup or delivery to build the orders. These yellow and red days indicated depending on the pickup day are really important for our team to make sure we build the order accurately and it's ready to go, in addition to our other programs. So more on that later. We are, however, always happier to do it earlier, which I'll get to. Another thing related to the ordering windows that we get quite a few questions about from agency partners is, do these ordering windows kind of impact the availability of product? Is there like a best or better day to order food? And the answer is no. The SLO Food Bank accepts deliveries of new product that we've ordered or is being donated Monday through Friday. And as soon as our warehouse team, verifies that order, double checks food safety, double checks counts, we will list it on Primarius if it's allocated to agency partners. 2 exceptions that I want to talk about real quick are milk and bread. I know all our agency partners are familiar with the free milk offered every week. It did take us a little bit to get a good rhythm with that milk. And so we do really appreciate our agency partners who were really patient with us when we every now and then had a gap in milk availability. It's going at a really good rhythm now, and we have a really good process to figure out our inventory. And so milk, we receive and pick up milk every Thursday, and we do try to source enough milk to last an entire week until our pickup the following week. So that's one item that will always have all its inventory added Thursday. And then our frozen bread that is assorted loaves and grocery rescue sourced from a local donor. That is something that also our food bank staff picks up every Monday. And so we also have a process now where every Monday we look at how much frozen bread we rescued and picked up from the donor, and we try to make sure that we have adjusted the limits so that all agency partners can order. So if it's a lighter donation, which is kind of out of our control, we just really appreciate anything we get from that donor. But if it's a lighter week with bread, we try to lower the limits so there's enough for all agencies. And if it's a very plentiful bread pickup, we try to increase the limits so that agencies can get some more. All right, so here's a couple tips just to make sure, because I know those ordering windows are pretty specific. Here is a tip to make sure that your order is successfully placed, and a couple really key areas to look out for to make sure that your order is successfully entered. So once your agency clicks submit at the end of the checkout process, which we're not going to go through that right now, but we do have a lot of other materials we can share in the follow-up about the entire checkout process. But most importantly, your agency is going to want to make sure you see this green banner that says your order was placed successfully. If something else pops up like a red banner or an error, we encourage you to call, myself or Natalie, or take a screenshot, which we'll talk about later too. You also want to make sure that this status under your order says entered. And something else to keep an eye on is this little active complete toggle on the checkout screen. These are actually buttons. So if you're seeing a lot of orders that say confirmed under status, you're probably on the completed orders tab, and you'll want to click to active to make sure you can see your active orders, which should generally only show one active order per week or at a time. And then lastly, you really want to make sure that the date is the date that you are trying to order for, which should be about 2 days in the future from the day you're ordering. You're going to want to make sure your delivery pickup date is the expected date that you're ordering food and when you intend to come pick it up here. So what if you're going through this process and you thought you checked out, but you look back at this page and it says data entry? That means that your order is still in data entry and has not been fully completed, and it will expire after 2 hours, which Natalie is going to talk about. So if you see that data entry and you thought you were complete, you need to navigate back to the shop page, click on the cart. This will say however many items you have in the cart, and then make sure you finish the checkout process. And if for some reason along the way you still can't get that order to say entered, please reach out to us or take a picture of what you're trying to order so that we can make sure that gets successfully placed and transmitted to our inventory team so they know to build it. So here's a question too. So what happens if your agency tries to place an order in these kind of red or green days, the day before or the day of pickup? Let's say you forgot to order or you were out sick from work and so you couldn't order for your organization. Primarius might do a couple different things, and there are a lot of updates to the Primarius system that kind of affect what happens here. But as of right now, if you're trying to order on one of those 2 days, Primarius will let you submit the order. But since it falls outside of our ordering windows, which are actually settings in Primarius that we've put in place to affect these pickup delivery dates, Primarius is going to bump your agency's delivery date to your next week. So in this example, the assigned day was a Tuesday. I logged on and did a fake order of an agency placing an order Monday, so too late. It's not allowing that full business day we need to build the order. And what happened is it bumped it to the next Tuesday, the 23rd. And so this is just really something we want our agency partners to keep an eye on, because we would hate for an agency partner to be expecting an order that's going to be ready the next day, and it's actually been transmitted and put in as next week. If that does happen, please reach out to us. We generally can't honor day before, day of orders, although we will try our best. The earlier we know, the more likely, depending on the day, our team might be able to do that. But additionally, we can always maybe push it out and do kind of a one-time reschedule and look to later in the week if that works for your organization, and make sure we get that in. But we just need to know. And then we can always order early too. We're more than happy to do that, especially too if me or Natalie have a heads up to make sure we double check that everything went through correctly. And then I will hand it off to Natalie to talk a little bit more about cart expiration.
Thank you. All right. So kind of what Kelly touched on with cart expiration. So as soon as you begin your order, a 2-hour window begins for you to submit your order. And this happens because, as Kelly mentioned earlier, this is a live inventory system. So it is reflected in real time as different agencies are ordering, or as we're adding SLO Food Bank product into Primarius. Primarius will reserve your agency's product if it's in your shopping cart for those 2 hours. And so, as an example, I have here, if I begin to start my order at 8:20 a.m., then I have until 10:20 a.m. to get those items submitted and placed until they're just taken out. So another question that happens is, what happens if you walk away or forget about your order? I recommend refreshing the page and double checking your order and making sure you have everything in there. And if not, you can just go back and re-add it in. Perfect. And yes, so just always refresh and double check that your numbers look great. If you notice an item in your shopping cart disappeared after you're submitting your order, please reach out to me and Kelly and we can get that on there. And you can just text us, call us, email us, whatever you got. Alrighty. For the next one, I'm going to be also touching on orders. So at the very end of submitting your order, this screen right here pops up, and a cool quirk is right here. Did you know that you can change the contact of who's submitting the order? So something that we find very useful is changing the contact to who's ordering. It helps us and the warehouse team know who to reach out to if we see something looking a little wonky on our end and we want to check in and make sure we're not playing phone tag and trying to figure out who submitted the order. And another cool thing, right next to it here, you'll see there's pickup notes or delivery notes, just anything. So here I have an example of Emily Hansen will be picking up, because here you see Thomas Lutz is the one submitting the order. So what happens, say Emily may have missed her pickup appointment. That helps us reach out to Emily and check in, see if what's going on and when to expect her. Yeah, perfect. To wrap up, these are our steps to success. So just to make sure you're placing your order on the correct day, um, 2 business days, as Kelly said, keep that 1 business day in between the day that you're ordering and when you pick up or get your delivery. Always look for this green banner saying your order was successfully placed, and then make sure your order says that it's entered. Very key. And then double check your order and the pickup and delivery date that it shows the correct day. Perfect. And then I am going to pass it back to Kelly.
Thank you, Natalie. Okay. So, how is ordering on PWW related to the flow of food at the SLO Food Bank? So, we talk a lot about that 1 business day needed to build the order, and why we have such specific ordering windows and processes. And so, I wanted to touch on that and provide some photos and a little bit of context to our flow of food and how that works. So, agency partnership is just one program of the SLO Food Bank, meaning it's just one way that we're getting food out into our community, although it is a really big program of the SLO Food Bank. So, not to underscore that, but we do have a lot of other ones going on. So, our agency partner builds and building and preparing those orders is just one part of our daily staff and volunteer shifts. It's also often done first thing in the morning for our staff and volunteer shifts. Lately, we've been doing it first. And so throughout the rest of the day and Monday through Friday, our staff and volunteers are also building produce bags. They're preparing our prepackaged food for our over 50 neighborhood food distributions every month. We have nutrition programs, and then we also have a lot of food coming in. We have Glean Slow bringing in recently harvested fresh produce in. We're receiving a lot of palletized food, often by, a half semi truckload or a full load, which can be anywhere, 10 to 20 pallets of food. And then we're also sorting donated food and building no cook bags and things like that too. And so what happens on this order build day? Here everybody can see Frank, who everyone is probably familiar with. Frank keeps such a close eye on every single one of our agency orders and probably touches at least every agency order every day at least one time. So he's amazing. And these days are really busy for Frank and the rest of our inventory team. And so before your agency's pickup or delivery day, we actually on the day of do very, very little to your agency's order. It is just ready to go, waiting in the refrigerator or the freezer for pickup or delivery. Everything is weighed ahead of time, including our produce. And so in these 2 days, this red and green, it's actually really difficult for our team to make a last minute change, especially if we've already built all the orders for the day. However, we are really, really happy and willing to work with your agency for a special case like you're going on vacation or need a one-time schedule change, especially if we know ahead of time. If we know by this yellow day when you're placing your order, that's great, and we can usually make it happen. But a week's notice is great. Don't ever feel like you're giving us too much info. We would love to know, because Natalie and I will set reminders to make sure that we're helping to get your agency the food when you need it. And so our food, as agency partners know, often comes bulk encased. And if you've seen our warehouse, you'll notice that we have palletized food, all over. And so how do we take that palletized food on this order build day and get it to an individualized order? So here's our agency pickup door. And like I mentioned, our volunteers and staff usually start working on agency builds for the pickups and deliveries the following business day, around 9:30 in the morning, and they usually finish within a couple hours. We have some volunteer shifts that can just breeze through them with our seasoned volunteers, and we love that. And so staff and volunteers will take bulk cased product and count out according to the individual agency builds and put it either onto pallets or into shopping carts with labeled agency names on there. And then here in this picture, which is a little small, you can see our bulk produce line. And so what happens here is when agencies order different quantities or different items of produce, volunteers will go down this produce line and then sort it into different quantities, whether that's a banana box or a bag, or sometimes we'll be pulling off a 50-pound bag of carrots and we'll put them there. Our volunteers are most often building the shelf-stable cased product and the produce product, of course, with our staff doing a double check on those items, whereas our staff always handles refrigerated product like milk and frozen product like meat. So that's kind of how we delineate that. But a SLO Food Bank staff member always looks at an order too, but our volunteers are really crucial to building the produce and shelf-stable. From there, our larger orders, especially all the orders that are going on our delivery trucks for our agencies who qualify for that, they're individually built on pallets and then wrapped so that they're ready to go on a SLO Food Bank truck. And then all our orders, whether they're pickups that are on carts or on pallets or deliveries, are often stored in the refrigerator overnight if they have refrigerated product. And during the summer, we also store some shelf-stable items in the fridge too, just to keep them safe overnight. And then they're brought out about a half hour before pickup or loaded onto our refrigerated delivery trucks. And so when this is going on average, our inventory team is building about 10 agency orders for the next day. And then simultaneously for the day of, they're greeting and managing about 10 agency partner pickups or deliveries per day. And the average order weight for an agency partner order in 2023 was about 700 pounds. So it's just a lot of moving food. And on the day of pickup and delivery and on the day of the builds, we just want to make sure we're ready to go. And then if you're ever running late for a pickup, please let us know. It's not a big deal. We just want to make sure we can put your order back in the fridge to keep it safe until you arrive. And that's not a big deal. We'd much rather keep your food safe than have it hang out waiting for someone. Righty, and then let's talk a little bit more about the Primarius menu. So our PWW menu is really great. I often say it's as easy as shopping on Amazon once you get in there. And so hopefully there should always be a photo of the product that you can expect. And then this will have the product code, which is part of our inventory system and how we track and create products. And then it has these descriptions here. And I kind of wanted to cover what those different descriptions mean because they kind of speak to where the food is sourced from or how it's procured and how it should be stored. So the first one on here is class, and that's going to identify which program of the SLO Food Bank that the food is being offered from. So for majority of the folks here, that class is almost always going to say partner services for our agency partner. Beneath that, we're going to have category. And you can kind of think of that as the purchasing category of food. It indicates how we kind of sourced and procured this item and what source it's being offered from. And we'll go into those product categories in further slides. Storage indicates how the product should be stored to ensure food safety and quality. It's going to be right here. Shelf-stable items are going to say dry, meaning they can just be stored, not in a too hot room and off the ground, but other than that, they don't need refrigeration or freezers. And then for our refrigerated products, it'll say refrigeration or frozen. And then another cool thing for produce is you might notice that some produce items say 1A dry. And what that means is that our food safety and procurement manager has taken a close look at those products, and some produce items, as we all know, don't necessarily have to be stored in the fridge. And so we try to indicate that on the storage because we do have a few agency partners who only have shelf-stable storage. And so we want them to be able to order that produce that is safe to be stored outside of a fridge for quality and for quality. And then packaging is really important to look at. And I think a lot of our agency partners are really used to this now and know to keep a close eye on this. But Since a lot of our food is bulk encased, we always want agency partners to make sure they know kind of what quantity they're going to order. And we try to include the individual product in the photo and then also kind of the case in the background so agency partners can get an idea. And if you ever need more information on that, especially around the holidays when storage might be really tight, please feel free to reach out to us because if we have it in house, me, Natalie, or Frank are happy to give your agency more information or clarification or text you a photo about what to expect on your food pickup. And then lastly, we have the nutrition category. And we hope to offer a lot more information about this in the future, maybe even its whole own webinar about it. But our nutrition team does have a nutrition policy for all the food that the SLO Food Bank directly sources. And it's broken up into 3 simple categories of choose sometimes, choose often, or choose rarely. And that's based on nutrition measurements like sugar levels, added sodium, fat, and other nutrients in the product. And so majority of our food we try to have fall in choose sometimes or choose often. And then a smaller percentage of our food is choose rarely. And so, yeah, that's something you can keep an eye on too. And hopefully we can get more info on that maybe later this year in a different webinar. All right, so we're going to dive into some product categories. So 2 main product categories we have, especially for our shelf-stable food, but also a couple refrigerated and frozen items, are the co-op product category and the purchased product category. I'll start with co-op, which 2 examples here we have are Boost protein shakes and oatmeal packets. This stands for cooperative purchasing. And so what happens is the SLO Food Bank uses wholesale purchasing power to secure items at hopefully a lower cost than local grocery stores because Natalie and I and the rest of our team are well aware that the SLO Food Bank may not be supplying your organization with 100% of the food you need to serve your community. And we know that a lot of our agency partners are shopping at local grocery stores like Smart and Final or Vaughn's, who are great partners, but we're trying to procure items at a lower cost than these local grocery stores to help support your operations and be able to offer them directly at cost to agency partners. And so some good examples of this, in addition to the Boost, are cereal will often offer frozen protein, and then snack items like those juice boxes. The other category that's really similar to co-op, except it just gets rid of the cost, is our purchased product category. And so that's essentially procured the same way as co-op items. We procure it in bulk, we purchase it, the food bank decides what we want to purchase for our agency partners, and we offer it at 0 or no cost to agency partners. So they're often sourced through grant funding or just general SLO Food Bank funds from donations. And then we specifically budget plan and set those aside as free products for our agency partners, which is really cool. And with these 2 product categories, something I want agency partners to know is we really want to be getting useful products for you all. And especially for co-op, we want to be getting them at a lower price than the grocery store, or close to it at least. If, agency partners getting deliveries, sometimes it's just easier to get the same product on that. And so please keep an eye out when we do send out messaging, especially at the end of the year. We always do an annual food satisfaction and agency partner survey. And that feedback really helps inform what the SLO Food Bank budgets for on an annual basis to offer to our agency partners, either on co-op or the free purchase product category. And so we really appreciate feedback. And if you don't want to do the survey, or if you think of something during the year, or if your agency is really spending a lot of money at the grocery store on one item week over week, we would love to hear what that is and see if we have a lot of overlap between our partners, because then we can try to adjust our menu, in future years or next year's budget, or even sooner than that, to try and better support our agency partners. Okay, another product category we have is donated product. So some of our donated product comes from really generous donors like Albertsons or the Church of Latter-day Saints. But we also accept donations that are walk-in from community members. Our gleaned produce is technically donations from, local people who have fruit trees in their backyard or even larger agriculture farms. And then food drives, especially around the holidays, but we also have community groups doing food drives on behalf of the SLO Food Bank all year round, and even more creative ways. And so sometimes when we get bulk donations from some of those bigger donors, Some of it is palletized food that is donated, especially from like the Church of Latter-day Saints. And so those can go directly on Primarius, and you'll see that they have a quantity, a cased quantity, and the category of donation, and are offered for free to agency partners. That was something really cool this budget year we were able to implement, where we no longer do a shared maintenance fee on our donated product, which was 19 cents per pound. We offer them at no cost to agency partners. That shared maintenance fee before was just to help cover some operational costs, and it couldn't go above 19 cents per pound, but we were able to budget in a way that we don't have to do that anymore. So that's really cool. And then what about mixed donations? Things that are from the community and are not uniform, but still really great food that we want to get out to our community. What happens there? So for mixed donated product, our current process is that we receive it into the SLO Food Bank warehouse, kind of in a general MAC bins and boxes that we store it in like this. And then our volunteer and staff during different shifts will sort that food and make sure we pay special attention to best by dates, the condition of the product, make sure it's not damaged, and then it has a nutrition label. And then we sort it into similar but general categories like baking goods or beans or nut butters like peanut butter and almond butter, canned veggie or cereal and oats. And then we try to offer this to agency partners on our landing page for Primarius, where you go to shop, or when you're picking up at the door. So keep an eye on that Primarius landing page to see our special offerings. We'll try to list what we have, and you can always reach out to Frank or me and Natalie if you want to add it. The reason this mixed donated product can't be listed directly on Primarius like the cased product is because it's not uniform. And so it's really hard for our system to input an exact weight and keep track of what those items were. And so we just try to offer these general categories to agency partners. And so you might see a lot more of this offered too around the holidays during like Season of Hope and things like that. But we do get donations throughout the year. And then lastly, produce. And I did see one of Taffy's question in the chat about bread. And so Taffy, I will let you know bread is also a placeholder item. And so I can more specifically talk about that, but just keep it in mind too. So produce, the SLO Food Bank receives in a huge variety of ways. So like I mentioned, donations, we will accept donations of produce from community members or agricultural farms. We have our Glean Slow program right here that goes out into the community to harvest produce with our volunteers. We also are bulk purchasing a lot of produce for our different programs, and we have some grants that are specifically to purchase fresh produce. And then sometimes we're getting cased produce all at the same time. And so the SLO Food Bank tracks our produce by weight, which is a little different than when something is a uniform cased product. And because of that, produce on Primarius is a placeholder item. And so what does a produce placeholder item mean? The SLO Food Bank staff will estimate how much of a specific produce item, such as onions or oranges, that we think we will have available to agency partners. And we try to estimate how long that will be in stock. We have to estimate right now because our produce is shared amongst all programs. So early in the webinar, I had that photo of the produce line where volunteers and staff would build certain quantities of produce for orders. That produce line is also being used to source our mixed produce bags at neighborhood food distributions, our children's farmers markets, our senior farmers markets, and even more. And so because of that, and because we're receiving produce in such a variety of ways and in such a variety of vessels and quantities, our system right now is to list these placeholder items. And we are doing a lot to try and track and better manage that so that when an agency partner orders produce on a Monday, they're hopefully getting what they ordered on Wednesday in terms of the individual items. But we do know that it's sometimes an imperfect system. And so we've been brainstorming some ideas like more general produce categories or substitutions if we run out of something, and hope to work on that in the coming year and next year. And then because of this, on your finalized invoice, you won't see these individual items because they're just a placeholder item for us to be able to share with agency partners what's available or hopefully available for them to order. And bread, since it's a donation, is kind of the same. We'll always have that bread placeholder item and then be adjusting the limits on the back end depending on quantity. So to more specifically answer Taffy's question, you can order anytime Monday and we will have the bread. Either we'll have it or not to fulfill your order. It won't matter if you order earlier or later because that placeholder item is always going to stay there. That's for bread, but for produce, we will switch out the placeholder items depending on what shipments we're expecting of produce or what gleans are planned. And then on your finalized invoice, you'll just see a total weight of produce. You won't see the individual items. And so we just have one general produce category for our inventory management right now. And then something else too, with our produce, a lot of it is sourced really locally, whether that's through the Glean Slow program, which is in SLO County, or throughout California. And so because of this, our produce is sometimes from the Glean program really ripe and very fresh, and often organic and doesn't have pesticides or any preservatives on it from especially our local backyard donors. And then also our produce in California can be really affected by the weather that we're seeing. So we've had a couple wet winters here. And so because of that, if you do see product that has been impacted quality wise, especially when it gets to your agency, please let us know. Please take pictures and send it to us because we will try our best to adjust or look into our vendors or ask what's going on. But we really want to know. It won't hurt our feelings. We know it happens. We definitely want to make sure we're getting high quality produce that is going to be able to get to the people we serve so they can consume it. And yeah, so just keep an eye on it and let us know. We're very aware that that could happen, and so we want to hear about it so we can look into what we can do. And so, kind of a recap: why are produce items placeholder? It comes in varying quantities. It comes in varying vessels. It's shared amongst all our SLO Food Bank programs. So a lot more produce is going out. That's something we really try to prioritize. So here's a children's farmers market where kiddos can shop for food. Shop. They get like fake food bank bucks. They go to our neighborhood food distributions that we try to make all the produce bags a set weight of about 10 pounds of assorted produce, and yeah, and all that. And then some speaking of that, some programs get it in bulk, like agency partners, whereas other programs get it in assorted bags. So we have kind of different ways of getting it out into the community too. All right, we're going to jump into a little PWW administration. I know everybody's favorite topic, but again, thank you all so much for paying close attention to our invoices and statistic submissions and all of that. And we're going to go over a couple of specifics here. And then I'm going to hand it back to Natalie to talk about some of those.
Thank you. Yeah, so starting off, to get to your statistics, I'm just going to do a step-by-step as a little refresher. Right here, you will see on when you first log in, this is a landing page at the top. You're going to go ahead and start at clicking the statistics there. And then your next step, it'll take you here and you'll kind of see the previous month's statistics as well. And then you will click the add new agency statistics. And then from there, it will take you right here to this screen where you're going to click on this drop down bar and then select the statistics that you're submitting for. So here I'm clicking on March 2024, and then I'm going to hit save. It's important to note that this save button is the only one that you'll be hitting when you are submitting your statistics. It's a weird little quirk, but this is going to be the only one. So then as soon as you hit save, it will take you directly to this screen where you can begin entering in your numbers in this value column. And once you've gotten to that last question, you'll see the name of the person submitting the statistics. And you'll see here, I wrote Natalie. And that helps us as well, as I mentioned earlier, knowing who to contact if we have any questions. If numbers aren't looking right or if they're zeroed out, because sometimes it does that. And then we will take you straight here where if you want to double check and make sure everything looks great, when you're done entering in your values, you will go right here at the top and hit agency statistics, and it will take you back to this screen where you will see the month that you just added in, and you'll see right there is an edit button. And so you will be able to edit your statistics for that day only until midnight. So if you have any changes that you need to add or update, you have that day. And then after that, the agency statistics will lock and stay in place. So from there, if you need to change anything, please reach out to me and Kelly, and we can easily go in and do that and make sure it's all correct. Perfect. And then from here, the statistics windows will, sorry, finding my place here. From there, you are solid and your statistics are great. You can double check, make sure, as I said. And yeah, moving on, I'm going to show kind of our statistics and the different site types, because each agency runs their own program. So here you can see what pantry statistics will look like, or a meal site, or residential. And it's just based off of your food program that you're doing. So you can see they pertain to each agency and unique program. And then something to remember is that statistics windows open 7 days before the end of the month, and then it closes on the 7th of the next month at midnight. And then kind of going back to statistics, looking at it more in depth, just some reminders here. Right here for letters A and B, you want to make sure that the number of people served is greater than or equal to the number of families or households served. And then right below it, you'll see right here, the age values for C through F, that should be less than or equal to the total number of people served. I know sometimes we say less than or greater than, or less than or equal to, because sometimes people don't want to give their age, and that's totally fine, just as long as you have them counted as an individual. Yeah, perfect. And then another little thing right here is to remember about is after C through F, you have um, number of days this month groceries were distributed to the public. And then there's also right below it, number of days groceries were distributed to program participants. And I know it gets a little funky there, and sometimes you want to fill out both, but something to remember is that groceries distributed to the public means anyone can get food without having to pre-register or do anything. Whereas for a program participants, your clients or participants are having to enroll in your program. So generally, agencies are doing one or the other. There's pertains to very few if they do both. So for an example here, if your pantry is open to the public without pre-registering, you can, let's see here. So sorry, rewind here. So if your agency is open 5 days a week, and you are for the month, and you distribute groceries every day those 5 days, and this was for March, you would put 21 right there. And then, yeah, and then I'm going to pass it back to Kelly to go over duplicated and unduplicated statistics.
Thank you, Natalie. Yeah. And so, oh, Joyce, I see a hand up. Joyce, do you want to post your question in the chat, and I'll keep an eye out for it? Or if not, we'll grab it at the end. All righty. Thank you, Natalie. Yeah. And so something else for statistics, we do ask that agency partners submit unduplicated statistics. And so what does that mean? Unduplicated statistic means that the people and the corresponding households who visit a food program, they're only counted one time over the course of a month, regardless of how many visits they make to your individual pantry or food program. So for example, if I visited the SLO Food Bank pantry every week to pick up food for my family of 4. On unduplicated statistics, I would be recorded as one household and 4 people in that month. If the statistics were duplicated, I would be counted every time that I attend, which as 4 households and 16 people per month. And why do we want agencies to submit unduplicated values? It helps us provide consistency across reporting for all our SLO Food Bank programs if we're counting the same way. And it also helps us to determine the unique community impact or the unique food needs in that area by region or by city. And then With that, the number of days open that are reported in statistics really helps us gather information that corresponds to the unduplicated statistics. So, an agency that is open 4 days to the public and serving 100 people unduplicated is painting a different picture than an agency that's open 1 day per month and serving 400 people unduplicated. You can tell that from that, an agency open 4 days, maybe every Wednesday of the month, and serving 100 people might be serving almost 400 people if those folks are visiting every week. But it's kind of giving us a different idea as to how their programs are operating. And with that information, we might see that the agency that's open once a week and serving about 100 people, they might have more food storage needs to accept more food on a weekly basis. And maybe they could accept more fresh food product since they're distributing weekly and have more avenues to get that food out. Whereas agency number two, that's only open once a month, but still serving a really high volume of folks, we can see they might benefit from a lot of shelf stable food leading up to that distribution. And then they might need a lot of fresh produce and fresh product the week of distribution. And so it just really helps us to kind of standardize and look at that across the board. But again, we can always do best estimates or help your agency. And if you're not doing unduplicated right now, don't get stressed out. Don't worry. You can let us know and we'll chat about it on our site visits and see what we can do, because we do know both values too are important. And so tracking both never hurts. And how can your agency partner calculate this? So one way you can do it is if you're using a paper sign-in form and we have a template we can provide, is you can simply add a question at the end that says, is this your first time visiting our pantry or our food program or our location this month? And then to find the unduplicated values, you would only tally up the line items of people served and their ages and then the number of households by only counting the folks who indicated, yes, it's our first time visiting the pantry this month. So if I visited the pantry on the first of the month, I would mark, yes, this is my first time visiting. And then the other times I visit, if it's a weekly or daily distribution, I would mark no. And if you do it this way too, then your agency has both values and you can even calculate kind of the rate of repeat visitors you're seeing. And it kind of helps inform your agency. Are people needing to utilize my food program once a month, or are they utilizing it multiple times a month, and kind of help determine what's going on? And then I also know some agencies are already tracking this for their own food programs. So some agencies will do a really big household unit of shelf stable and frozen protein, to families once a month. And then the rest of the month, families can maybe only access fresh produce or grocery rescue food, just depending on the agency partner's capacity. So those are kind of some reasons why we want the statistics reported unduplicated. But again, not to cause stress, we're here to support or answer questions or talk with your agency. If you're looking at this and being like, oh, we weren't doing that, we can figure out a way to get there together. And then I'll hand it back to Natalie to talk about how your agency can find important records and invoices pertaining to your program.
Thank you. Yeah, so kind of where you go and add in your statistics, you can also access your documents. So right here under this name column, you can search your invoices, monthly statements, our monitoring site visit that we do, and partner contract. So for monthly statements, you can type in the month. And then on the other side over here, you can do the effective date. So the pickup or delivery date of your order, or you can search the first day of the month for that monthly statement. Perfect. And then I'm going to go ahead and pass it back to Kelly to talk about invoices and monthly statements.
Okay. Yeah, and just kind of some quick housekeeping stuff. So, like Natalie mentioned, you can easily view all your invoices and monthly statements under the My Documents tab. In addition, you can view some more like historical organization specific documents such as site visit forms and partner contracts. We have some partner contracts on there going back all the way to 2003, which is really cool. We did scan and upload all the ones we had for all our active agency partners. So you can maybe even find some cool history there about how our forms have changed and stuff. But yeah, for your invoices, I just wanted to go over real quick how to read them in case you're looking for where a check was applied or payment history for your agency. So we have a monthly billing system, and the statements are auto-generated by Primarius and automatically emailed on the first of the month. And the day before, me or Natalie always check the business day before the end of the month to process any payments that we have in house so that you're getting the most up to date information on the first of the month. Keep in mind, though, our mailing system and sorting through our mail, because we do have a sorting process since we receive donations in the mail. It can take a little bit, especially during the holiday season. So keep a close eye on and keep track of what checks you've issued to us just in case that lag is happening. And so on your monthly statement, you'll see your invoice date, which is generally going to be the pickup or delivery day for your agency. You're going to see the order reference number, which pertains to the invoice number or order number in our system. So you can also search this number in the name of the document, and it'll find the specific invoice for that order. And then the order amount, the total order amount that was on there. And then payment date is going to be, if a payment has been applied, it's going to be the date from the check. So we try to match it so we can always give you your check information if you have an invoice question. We put the date from that's posted on the check, or if you paid cash, we put the date that we received cash. Payment reference is going to be the check number so that you can cross-reference with your own accounting records. So this was paid with check number 1885. And then the amount from the check that's applied. And so a lot of our agency partners will pay a month at a time, which I think is one of the easiest ways. But if you want to pay invoice by invoice, that's fine too. So you can see here this agency paid with one check, check number 1885, for all of the orders that were in February, and we applied the amounts here. And then one thing to keep an eye on too is always look at the total due, as that will reflect any payments we received and any outstanding balances will be there. Right, and then I will hand it back to Natalie to talk about if you run into trouble on any Primarius things, how can we assist you and what info do we need?
Yeah, so kind of our little motto here is when in doubt, take a screenshot or a picture. It helps us figure out what's going on so we can navigate and assist the best that we can. So in here, I included two different ways on Windows or Mac on how to screenshot. So just Windows Shift S on the Windows laptop or desktop, and then on a MacBook, Shift Command 3. Also really easy to search up, but when in doubt, you can take a picture and text it or email me and Kelly easily. But like I said, please reach out if there's ever a problem, call us. A picture does help a lot more in seeing what you see. And now I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Christy.
Thanks, Natalie. Hi, everybody. I'm actually part of a different team here at the food bank. I'm with the food rescue team, and this is directed directly towards those of you who do grocery store food rescues. Just a couple notes on the reports that you'll see when you are on your Primarius landing page. When you are submitting your food weights on a weekly basis, those are initially put into the in-process reports, and this is where it'll list it out with the grocery store that you rescued from, the categories of the food, and the weights for each of those categories. And when you hit submit report, it's initially an in-process report. This is your time to be able to double check your work. And if you find that you made a mistake, maybe your finger accidentally put in 330 pounds of milk instead of 30 pounds. If you find that that happens, that can still be corrected. All you have to do is email me or call me or text me, and we can change that very, very easily. Corrections made at this step are easy to put into the confirmed reports. If you missed that though, and I've already confirmed a report on my end, it's a little trickier that way, and any corrections made after a report has been confirmed are not going to be reflected in those confirmed reports. And for those of you that are submitting reports, it is kind of time sensitive that you double check your work, because I generally process reports every morning at about 8:30 in the morning. So you've got a few hours there depending on what time you submit. After I've confirmed reports on my end, they're locked in On your landing page, if you go under reports, it's in the top right corner of your landing page, you'll see both in-process reports or confirmed reports. If you're interested in knowing your agency's food rescue history, you can go under confirmed reports and you can see everything that you have rescued and reported on as far back as 2021. And it'll tell you the grocery stores, the categories, and the weights. And sometimes this is just interesting just for your own education on what you're getting from a specific store or on a specific day. It's also could be helpful if you're applying for grants and you want to be able to include the quantity of food that you're participating in and rescuing. Or if you're reporting back to your congregations or to any donors that you have in an impact report. And so this data can obviously be used to help and make informed decisions going forward. But as Natalie and Kelly keep saying, if you ever have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm learning this process just as you are, and I'm happy to troubleshoot with you. All right, back to you, girls.
Thank you, Christy. All righty. So it is that time. Thank you all so much for attending and for your patience. And this will be recorded if you want to share it with anyone else in your agency or if you want them to view a specific section. But again, we're definitely here to help support. And at this time, I'd like to open it up. If anybody has questions, you can use the raise hand function or post it in the chat. And we are happy to answer. If you have something more specific, though, to your agency and want to connect with us directly, please feel free to do that too. Thank you, everyone. Wonderful. All righty. I'm not seeing any questions, but if you think of anything, our contact info is here. We put Christy's contact in the chat, and then we're always happy to direct you to someone else too if you reach out. And again, thank you all so much for attending and for all the work that you do in our community. And hopefully we will see you at the next webinar in a couple of months. And I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend too.
Christy, can I ask my question now?
Sure.
Okay. The question was about where we put our days open. The question was on the statistics report about whether or not you pre-register someone into your program.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really know whether what we do qualifies as pre-registering, but someone comes in and we do put them into our food bank manager system and stuff before they get their food.
Mm-hmm.
We've always just put 0 on the H column and reported the number on in the column before it. But should we be doing it on G? Should we be considering that they're program participants? I'm not sure what that means.
No, Joyce. So our food pantry is public, meaning that anyone, even though you have a service area, you're still a public pantry. Public distributions are generally somebody can show up day of and receive a prepared meal or receive groceries without having to enroll in a program. So most agencies are either public or like a private program for program participants. So ALF is definitely public. You are absolutely doing it correctly. And we also check on these because sometimes folks in a hurry will just put both. An example of a program participant would be like a home delivery program. So somebody can't just like receive a home delivery program day of, they have to call to enroll. Another example would be like a residential facility program would be program participants like a sober living home or a safe house. Somebody has to be enrolled to receive food, or like a school backpack program. So not everybody at the school gets a backpack. Somebody has to enroll to receive the food. And so we're trying to capture kind of what are our programs accessible to the public versus programs that somebody has to reach out to the agency to kind of get set up in their program to receive food. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense. Thank you.
Perfect. You're welcome. Thank you. All righty. Well, we'll jump off now, but yeah, always available if anybody has any questions. And thank you again. Goodbye.